Welcome to the Real Estate Roadmap. My name's Asher, and I'm excited here on this next episode. I had a lot of great conversations this past week, both with buyer clients and also seller clients. And the questions they were asking me was, what is the cost of waiting? I had a great friend, Bailey, who was coming up to me asking me, Asher, if I were to buy a home, should I buy it now or the fall? And I took a pause because it wasn't quite a cut and dry answer. Prefacing anything market oriented, I'm gonna say I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately. So I'll just kind of talk about some of the data that we've seen and how it might impact people looking to do something now or in the future. So for Bailey, he was asking me, Asher, I'm looking to buy a home. Should I do something now or wait? And I asked him, I said, Bailey, what are you looking to accomplish? And he said, well, I'm worried that if I wait, prices may increase and rates may increase. And I said, well, that's absolutely something that could happen. But here are some things that we see year after year after year that in some form or another, they just don't change. So we talked about how this year, 2024, we've got politics in play. And most of the time, regardless of which party you are, we see that they try to make it look better so that entering into the next candidate, things go well. And historically, that's looked a couple different ways. Number one, they want the economy to look better, so rates will look lower. Now, on the front end, that sounds great because if rates are lower, buying power's higher. But here's the thing we're seeing. And I've had multiple conversations with multiple people over the last couple of weeks about this. I'm starting to see a buildup of people that are saying, hey, hold on, I'm gonna hang here on the sidelines. I'm gonna wait for this time in the fall when maybe rates drop. And then at that point, I'll look to buy. And what Bailey and I talked about was, well, you could do that, but there's probably another list of 5, 10, 15 people that are also doing that in your same price point. Now, what's gonna happen is let's go, fast forward till the fall. Let's say Bailey decides to buy then. Absolutely, rates may, and I say may because we don't know for sure, rates may be down, but what also will be different is maybe the increase of buyers who are also looking in that price point, which in Bailey's case, he's looking for more the median home price here, which is, mid 300s. And if he's got now, instead of 4 different people looking at that same home, he's got 10, what that does is that elevates the competition. Meaning, he's gonna have to submit a more competitive offer where at a monthly payment standpoint, with the rates going down a little bit, sure, it may help him there, but when he's got 2, 3, 4 times the amount of people competing, he's gonna have some people that may have a little more liquidity, who may be offering more significant down payments, who may be able to put more earnest money, not even do an inspection, maybe non-refundable earnest money. So those are all things we talked about of, sure, you can absolutely wait, but is the cost of waiting, the potential risk that could come with it, is that worth it? Now let's rewind from the fall. Right here, we are in April of 2024. Right now, we see prices are the highest ever historically, and a lot of people were chatting with me earlier this week about it, actually a couple phone calls, and they said, well, Asher, aren't prices down since the rates have gone up? In theory, you'd think so, and I was actually surprised. I looked back at the data, and rates this time last year were lower. Prices March of 2023 were a median of $300,000 here in the Chattanooga market. Rates are higher now. Affordability means people can afford less of a home at that high rate. Prices didn't stop. And instead, we've seen about a 10% increase from the numbers that we saw last year this same time, despite the rates increasing. And despite the inventory increasing as well, we've about 2.5x'd in the local Chattanooga, North Georgia market, the amount of inventory we've had. And all that to be said, despite what rates are doing, we're seeing a standard and fairly consistently appreciating market. Now let's fast forward. What does that mean right now? Right now, going back to Bailey, if he's looking to buy now, he's gonna be looking at, yes, a high interest rate, and yes, and I say high relative to the last couple of years, but in reality, that's about the average over the last 30 years, that 7%. But we're also seeing the prices being a little higher, so he was confused at what would be the value now? And of course, it's gonna be situational, and my goal is never to pressure anybody one way or another or push it. It's gonna be a lot more dependent on what your individual and personal circumstances are. But for Bailey, what he noticed is that he didn't want to put as much cash down. He wasn't as liquid as a lot of the buyers that we're seeing in the market. So he said, Asher, I want to get a home that I know I'm going to love, that I can have the time to find it, that's not flying off the shelf in less than 2 hours like that market we saw when rates dropped last time. But I'm also okay getting it at a higher rate, knowing that I'll refinance if rates do drop. So that's the strategy that Bailey decided. Now, cost of waiting. How does this play in? If you wait, sure, you may get a lower interest rate. But the terms that you're going to have to buy in, if rates do in fact drop, are going to be more competitive. So those that are choosing and opting to go sooner rather than later, within the next month or two, they're going to experience that they're able to get more advantageous terms for them. There's not 5 offers on the table, which means they have more leverage. And while it's at maybe a higher rate than they could get this fall, a lot of the folks, Bailey included, have been sharing with me that, hey, Asher, I'd rather do that, have a little more time, have a little more of a opportunity to really look through the lens of, my wife and I and what we're looking for in this home, and then make a decision knowing that, let's say rates again, this year, next year, the year after go down. We can refinance, but we're locked in. So that's the potential cost of waiting, losing leverage. Now, if we look at it from a seller standpoint, I've had several conversations with people going, well, Asher, shouldn't I wait until this fall when rates are lower and maybe people's affordability is higher and they're able to pay a higher price, which means in turn we'll get a higher number? The answer is possibly. There's no right or wrong, and we're seeing in this market quite a bit that it's really specific and ought to be tailored to you and your family's needs. But here are some just objective data points that we see. Year after year, this is a fact and variable, certainly in our market, that nobody can negotiate against, if you will. It's really that April to July timeframe. Across the board, people in the Chattanooga market are selling for the highest prices in the quickest time frame, yielding them as much of their equity as possible. Now, could there be an interesting scenario where the roles are flipped a little bit, maybe due to the interest rates going down, where there is also an advantage to waiting till the fall? Sure. But a lot of that's going to be dependent on your risk tolerance and the opportunities that you have and what selling will do for you. So there's no cut and dry answer. It's not super clear. It's dependent on, is it best for you now? Does it work now? And then based on what the market suggests that you can have of your equity that you can put in your pocket, go to that next home, is it worth it? Or are you someone who, possibly like myself, likes to roll the dice, wait, and gamble it? No right or wrong. But ultimately, from a seller perspective, that's the cost of waiting. The market could be better, it could not be, and that's always going to be the cost of waiting because we don't have the crystal ball that's going to tell us, hey, fall, you're going to be up 7%. It's just not how it works. Cost of waiting is a lack of certainty and potentially a lack of equity that you're capitalizing on. Well, a lot of folks I'm working with are going for the sure route of, hey, why don't we just cash out now? Let's go ahead and get it done. We know the market's going to be great. We know prices have never been higher now, and we know that there is in fact a market for my home. So those are the two topics that I've had a lot of great conversations with this week. Again, Bailey looking to buy, and then several sellers who are just really trying to understand, is now the right time or not? Whether you're looking to buy or sell, if you're trying to analyze if now's the right time, happy to have a conversation, hear a little bit more about your situation, and see if based on what your goals, your family's goals are, if the market, the data, and the information we have suggests now, fall, or maybe a couple of years is what makes the most sense. But either way, hope this was valuable, and tune in next week.